Once upon a time, an abomination, a predator, a monster roamed the wilderness of the American state of Alaska, literally hunting down women like wild game, mercilessly, remorselessly, with frightening precision. The name of the monster was Robert Hansen. First, let's take a brief look at the state of Alaska. Alaska, the largest state in the United States, is a land defined by its vast wilderness, dramatic landscapes, and unique blend of cultures and economic activities. Covering roughly 663,300 square miles, or about 1.7 million square kilometers, it is not only the biggest state by area, but also larger than the next three largest U.S. states combined. Located in the far northwest of North America, Alaska is separated from the contiguous United States by Canada and is bordered by the Arctic Ocean to the north and the Pacific Ocean to the south and west. Its geographical position places part of the state within the Arctic Circle, giving it some of the most extreme seasonal light variations in the country. Despite its size, Alaska has a relatively small population, about 730,000 people, making it the most sparsely populated U.S. state. The majority of residents live in the south-central region, with Anchorage being the largest city. However, the capital city is Juneau, notable for the fact that it is accessible only by boat or plane due to the rugged surrounding terrain. Alaska's economy is shaped heavily by natural resources. Historically, the discovery of oil at Prudhoe Bay in 1968 transformed the state's economic landscape, and today the oil and gas industry remains a major contributor to state revenue. Beyond that, commercial fishing, including salmon, crab and halibut, plays a central role in employment and exports. Tourism is also a significant sector, with millions of visitors each year coming to experience Alaska's glaciers, wildlife and national parks. The weather in Alaska varies dramatically depending on the region. Northern Alaska experiences long, frigid winters and short, cool summers, while southern coastal areas have milder, wetter climates. Alaska has more coastline than all other U.S. states combined, hosts North America's highest peak, Denali, and is home to the famous midnight sun, where some areas experience 24 hours of daylight in summer. It even has quirky traditions like the annual Iditarod Trail sled dog race, celebrating the state's history of dog-powered transportation. Now let's take a look at the abominable Robert Christian Hansen, infamously known as the Butcher Baker. He's remembered as one of America's most disturbing serial killers. His crimes, committed primarily in the Alaskan wilderness during the 1970s and early 1980s, shook the nation not only for their brutality, but also for the bizarre and almost cinematic methods he used to terrorize his victims. Hansen's story is a chilling tale of childhood struggles, suppressed anger, social rejection, and eventual descent into heinous criminal activity. To understand him fully, it is essential to trace his origins, upbringing, education, personal life, criminal progression, capture, and the legacy of fear he left behind. Robert Christian Hansen was born on February 15, 1939, in Esterville, Iowa, a small rural town. He was of Danish descent, with immigrant parents who had settled in the American Midwest. His father, Christian Hansen, was a strict disciplinarian who worked as a baker, while his mother, Edna Hansen, was a homemaker. His father's old-world values, coupled with a rigid work ethic, left little room for warmth or emotional closeness within the family home. As a child, Robert was painfully shy and awkward. He grew up with a stutter and severe acne, conditions that made him the target of bullying. There is little documented evidence of siblings playing a significant role in his life. Robert was largely isolated throughout his childhood, rarely forming deep friendships. His father expected obedience and hard work, often forcing young Robert into long hours assisting in the family bakery. This strict upbringing created feelings of resentment that would later manifest in disturbing ways. Hansen attended Pocahontas High School in Pocahontas, Iowa, where his experiences only deepened his feelings of rejection and alienation. His stuttering and acne earned him ridicule from classmates, particularly from girls, which fueled a lifelong bitterness toward women. Though not academically distinguished, Hansen found solace in hunting and archery, developing skills that would later play a dark role in his crimes. After high school, he enlisted in the U.S. Army Reserves in 1957. His service was unremarkable and short-lived, lasting only about a year. Upon returning, he trained as a baker, following in his father's footsteps. Despite his technical skill in the trade, his social difficulties and temper made him unpredictable in his work and relationships. Hansen's first major brush with the law occurred in 1960, when, at the age of 21, he burned down a school bus garage in Pocahontas, Iowa. The act was reportedly motivated by resentment toward the community that had rejected and bullied him. He was convicted of arson and sentenced to 3 years in prison. It was during this time that psychiatrists noted his personality disorders, including bipolar disorder and schizoid tendencies. Although his sentence was reduced, this marked the beginning of his criminal trajectory. Following his release, Hansen married a young woman. However, the relationship quickly fell apart due to his temper and erratic behavior. By the late 1960s, Hansen had remarried and moved to Anchorage, Alaska, seeking a fresh start. In Anchorage, Hansen seemed to live an ordinary life. He ran a successful bakery, earning the nickname The Baker. He was married and fathered 2 children, presenting himself as a hard-working family man. To neighbors, he appeared mild-mannered and responsible, often described as unassuming. Yet beneath this facade, Hansen's frustrations with women grew. He was often rejected by women he found attractive, particularly dancers and sex workers in Anchorage's nightlife scene. This rejection rekindled the bitterness from his adolescence. Hansen also pursued his passion for hunting, an activity deeply ingrained in Alaskan culture. He was a skilled marksman with both rifle and bow, often boasting about his hunting trophies. This passion would tragically merge with his darker impulses, leading him to use the wilderness as a personal hunting ground for his victims. By the early 1970s, Hansen began abducting women, most often targeting exotic dancers, sex workers, and women on the fringes of society. His method was chillingly unique. He would lure victims with the promise of money or rides. Once subdued, he would assault and torture them. Hansen would then fly or drive them deep into the Alaskan wilderness. In a sadistic twist, he released some victims into the wild, only to stalk and hunt them down with his rifle or bow, much like game animals. This grotesque hunt earned him the grim nickname the Butcher Baker. Investigators later believed Hansen murdered at least 17 women, though some estimates suggest over 20, between 1971 and 1983, burying many of them in remote sites. For years, Hansen's crimes went unnoticed due to the transient nature of many of his victims. However, his downfall began in June 1983, when a 17-year-old girl named Cindy Paulson escaped his captivity. Hansen had chained her in his home, but left her momentarily unattended. She fled and managed to reach the police. Paulson's detailed testimony gave investigators their first concrete lead. Initially, some officers were skeptical, given Hansen's reputation as a respectable businessman. However, Alaska state troopers, led by investigator Glenn Flaith, began connecting Hansen to numerous missing women. Search warrants of Hansen's home uncovered damning evidence: jewelry belonging to missing victims, a stash of weapons matching the descriptions given by survivors, an aviation map with marked X's, later revealed to correspond with burial sites of victims in the wilderness. Confronted with overwhelming evidence, Hansen eventually confessed in 1984. He admitted to abducting and killing women, providing details of his hunting methods. Hansen was sentenced to 461 years plus life without parole, ensuring he would never leave prison. Hansen was incarcerated at Spring Creek Correctional Center in Seward, Alaska. and later transferred to the Anchorage Correctional Complex. He remained largely quiet in prison, offering little remorse for his crimes. On August 21, 2014, Hansen died at the age of 75 from natural causes. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you.